Hi there, and welcome to the ideal conditions for sleep, part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, that's Insomnia number 403, which I recorded the other day. And as I was recording it, I had the sense that there's this can easily lead to a little bit of confusion. And sure enough, like it was actually super nice to see like comments from the community here, from two people in the community that highlighted with so much understanding where this kind of potential confusion can arise. So this is really just a follow-up where we are going to talk more about like ideal conditions and the gas and brake model, because this is where the confusion comes from. So for those of you who are not kind of new to the channel, then very briefly, the gas and brake model is something I use a lot to explain like how sleep happens. And it's, if you want kind of like the full understanding, then check out the This Is NATO playlist, which is in the description of any new video. And there I go over the gas and brake model in detail. But basically it's like the only requirement, the only thing that can make us humans sleep is sleep drive, the body's need for sleep, which only comes from being awake. The longer you're awake, the more of a sleep drive there is, kind of like hunger. The longer you haven't eaten, the more hungry you are. The longer you've been awake, the more sleep drive there is. That sleep drive is the only thing in the universe that can make a human being sleep. So that's the gas in our sleep system, but there's a brake in our sleep system too, and that's a safety brake. For example, if you're about to sleep, but then you remember that the oven is on, or there's some kind of thing that makes it not safe to sleep, there's a brake there. Hyperarousal is the brake, that heightened, kind of like the body's kind of like heightened sense of alarm or alertness. Hyperarousal is there's a brake to make sure we don't sleep when we shouldn't sleep. That's how sleep works. Now, in the episode from 2 days ago, I talked about how actually you can sleep well even if you feel anxious all day long. That happens quite often. And now the point of that was to help the community here, help anyone else sitting here see that you don't have to try to make yourself less anxious or make yourself think less about sleep to produce these ideal conditions for sleep to happen. Because the more you try to do that, the more tension, the more hyperarousal, the more brake there's actually gonna happen. Bizarrely, like the more you try to get rid of the brake, that act actually can produce more braking action. So you can already kind of sense how these two, the gas and brake, and this teaching of there are no the pursuit of ideal conditions often isn't helpful. You can sleep well even if you're anxious all day. They can seem sort of like conflicting. So what we're going to do today is look at two comments and really go a little bit deeper here to understand the gas and brake model and the ideal conditions teaching, so you can get to a place where you sleep well for the rest of your life. Okay, that's that. Let's look at the first one, which came in from Sagi, and I'm going to read this comment, and then we're going to look at another one from Collin as well. Sagi said, "Hi, Gal, another great video. I've seen your video, and you're right. Here's an example that just happened to me. I had 2 bad nights in a row, so I was so anxious to sleep, and I thought there's no way I will sleep, but I slept all night. The reason I was sure that I wouldn't be able to sleep is your gas and brake model. I was thinking the gas is high, meaning the sleep drive. You felt sleepy or knew he needed to sleep, but also there was a brake. There was this braking action. There was anxiety there. Plus, it is worth maintaining that while I like your approach in NATO much more than traditional CBT-I, I still prefer the CBT-I gas model. And let me explain. When I had some bad nights, I was telling myself, according to CBT-I, that sleep drive always wins, and the body will take the sleep that it needs, so eventually I will sleep. This made me less anxious. The NATO gas and brake model made me more anxious. What if the brake is always strong and the body won't take the sleep it needs? Your recent video made me more relaxed, which is much better, and it fits with my recent example. So how does it sit with the gas and brake model? Please explain. I can also send to open class, which that could have been a great idea, but I think this was well worth actually kind of special episode on this. So Sagi, again, thanks for sharing this, and I think I want to start here by saying that We hear from my good friend Martin Reed often says sleep drive always wins, which means that no matter how anxious you are or how long you've struggled or things of that nature, like, you know, eventually your body will just take over and make you sleep. So sleep drive always wins. Like, you will sleep eventually, no matter what happens. And this is true. This is absolutely true. The reason though I don't actually like to say so much sleep drive always wins, because with the word win comes this idea that there is a fight, and that, you know, if you kind of make yourself have a lot of sleep drive, you stay awake really, really long, your sleep drive is super strong, it will win and you will sleep. Because as you can see, this so easily leads to a pattern like performance anxiety. And to be more specific here, what so often happens is someone finds that, you know, like Sagi here, like, you know, I didn't sleep one night, didn't sleep the second night, and I was super anxious, but I slept the third night. That was because my sleep drive was so strong. Where does that lead you? Well, it leads you to a place where you feel like, I have to have that strong sleep drive. I have to achieve something. I have to obtain something. I have to do something, which leads to actually more preoccupation, hyperarousal, and more breaking, if you will. So to kind of summarize this, I want to say that it is, of course, true that you will sleep. Like, you know, no matter how anxious you are, or, you know, no matter how much breaking action there is, eventually you will sleep. That is absolutely true. But if you look for sleep drive as a way to kind of win a fight, you know, obtain something, conquer something, you know, then there will be an ongoing struggle. So I think that's important. And also very important is this one. Although, yes, it is true, eventually you always sleep. Sleep drive will produce sleep. If you still have a lot of like kind of confusion about sleep, you don't understand what's happening, you can often end up in a place where you do sleep, but you don't even notice it. You know, this is what we call paradoxical insomnia, when the anxiety around sleep is so strong, if you will, that even if sleep drive makes you sleep, you don't actually perceive that as sleep. You don't even know that you're asleep because there's so much hyperarousal. So in that case, you can argue that sleep drive won, but is it really a victory if the person didn't even feel like they slept at all and still believes that it didn't sleep at all, you know? So this is why I think it's always more helpful to go in the peaceful direction, you know, abandoning winning and losing, conquering, overcoming, battling, fighting, you know, go towards like a peaceful place. And I think that when you see that, you know, even if I felt anxious today and I had racing thoughts, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to sleep. I really don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict it or forecast it, but I don't have to make myself think less about sleep or make myself less anxious. That, I think, is a peaceful path that really leads to like less struggle overall and abandoning of the whole, you know, whole fight and sleeping well forever. So, Sai, I hope this helped kind of clarify the teaching here. And with that said, we'll move to the other comment, which was similar but not identical. I think it also is helpful to reply to this one here, which is from Collin. So let's read this. Collin says, hi Daniel, great video. Just a bit confused as to where anxiety and hyperarousal come in now to explain masking the sleep drive and hypersleep, as you call it. So does that kind of not really matter? Just referring to the gas and brake model. So yes, it is. So what Collin asked about here is like, isn't it true that hyperarousal can sort of mask sleep drive and causes hypersleep? It is true that it can, absolutely. Very often we have people in the community here that ask about, you know, I haven't felt sleepy for days or like months or even long. I just don't feel sleepy anymore. Something must be wrong. Really what's happening there is that hyperarousal, that the brain's idea that there's some kind of threat or a problem, you know, that's going to harm you anyway, that idea leads to this hyperaroused state where the hyperarousal is strong and you don't even experience the sleepiness. You don't even feel sleepy. Or you have this hypersleep where you sleep, but it's so infused with hyperarousal that you keep waking up. You don't know if you slept or not. Your time seems to skip ahead, etc. That is absolutely true. One, by the way, just a little quick analogy here, like to kind of normalize hypersleep, is that a lot of people have hypersleep, for example, before an early flight. They know they have to wake up like at 4 a.m. and they go to bed like 11 or something, and then they like keep wake every hour they wake up. Is it 4 o'clock? No, it's not. Is it 4 o'clock? Like that's the hypersleep too. So hypersleep is real. It is very real that hyperarousal can block you from feeling sleepy, etc. But again, like we talked about, replying to Sagi's comment, even if you can have a day or an evening where you have been very hyper aroused and you think that definitely I will not feel sleepy, I will not sleep much tonight, I will just have a whole night of hyper sleep. But you don't know that. It can actually happen that, like, for some reason you get distracted just before you fall asleep, and the brain kind of goes in a different direction, and even though you were hyperaroused all day long, you sleep really, really well. So again, the point is just that the more you abandon any effort at trying to make yourself calm and produce that ideal conditions just before bed, the more you abandon that and see that I can't really predict or control that, the easier you just sleep really well, and things get easier and lighter and brighter. So I hope this clarified some of these kind of like what can be a little tricky when you think of this, the teaching of the guess and break model and the teaching from like don't try to get like ideal conditions. And again, I appreciate the comments very, very much. So let me know how this sounded and if it was clear enough. Otherwise, I'll make like a part 3. But I hope it was clear enough again. So thanks so much, and look forward to having you back here real soon.